Yeah, so number one, let's just get number one out of the way. I don't think Jon Sumrall, whether I like him or not, and I like Jon Sumrall a lot, I don't think he gets the job just because of the politics of this. I could be completely wrong. I don't think in a political system with what's going on that he gets it. We talked about that earlier. I want a guy that is a football dude like him, though. Somebody that I know that's going to go in there and work and try to do everything humanly possible to make that place what it is. You know, one thing that we don't give Ed credit for, less credit for, regardless of what you want to say. I mean, I had multiple friends that were on staff and multiple friends, one that was in my wedding that worked for one of those guys and was a GA for the other. And they were like, listen, we might not like them, but they worked hard. And let's never miss a recruiting meeting, ever. Ed never missed a recruiting meeting. Ed just had his other problems. I want somebody that wants to be all in, and I want someone young and hungry. You know, that's what I want. And I say young, like Clark Lee's 42, 43 years old. So Mike Elko, I don't know how old he is, but someone who's hungry. Show me that you're hungry to be here. And that's the number one trait that I want. Everything else will take care of itself. This state will take care of you if you prove that you're hungry and you're wanting to go after a national title. That's number one. If the candidates in no specific order, listen, I wanted Lane years ago, but that's neither here nor there. Drinkwitz, Lane, Golish for me. I mean, I would personally call Brent Key. Here's one that's off the just out of beaten path. I've told people this on our show. I would call Fran Brown, and I love Fran Brown. I would, if my son were a recruit right now, we would actively be talking to Syracuse because how much I love Fran Brown. And I think that would be the coaches that I would go after. I do think that Eli, Lane, and potentially, oh, this is going to kill me. Potentially Alex Golish, but it's the truth. I think those would be the three guys they talk to first and see what's happening.
What's interesting about Lane, and I could be off on this, is signing day is December 3rd. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right now, LSU sits just outside the top 10 in recruiting rankings, and they have 16 players committed. 10 of those guys are ranked inside the top 250. It's impressive. All right, another 10 of those guys are from Louisiana. And the thing about LSU, that's a distinct advantage, and one of the reasons that people like the job is because it's never really been about the coach. You know, a lot of people, if they want to go to LSU, they want to go to LSU, and that's just kind of the way that it goes.
Right.
Conference championships are not till December 6th. Transfer portals from January 2nd to January 16th. You look at Ole Miss, their schedule, what they have remaining, everything's behind them. And at the same time, everything's in front of them. What I mean by that is that they have a clear path to the college football playoffs. And if they take care of business, that makes any type of negotiation with LSU or Florida very difficult. Yes. And it also answers the same question that I believe Lane is trying to answer himself. Can I win a championship here in Oxford? And he's going to find out that this year. So that's the Lane part is very difficult. And if he left Ole Miss regardless, there would be bad blood. If he left Ole Miss
for LSU
in the middle of a playoff run where they are right now, I mean, holy smokes. And given the way that this year has turned out, I wouldn't be shocked. Vegas has Joe Brady at 2-1. I love the idea of Joe Brady. I don't think it's realistic, given the fact that he's the OC of the Buffalo Bills for one of the hottest quarterbacks that we've seen play in the last 10 years. And he's already on the short list for a bunch of NFL jobs, right? And if he wanted to come back to college, he would have had that opportunity a while ago. James Franklin's on this list, 6-1. Not a candidate, in my opinion. Don't think they'll entertain it. Yep. Drinkwitz is so swaggy and arrogant and confident and all those things and has the offense. He's done an unbelievable job at Missouri. I don't know where he's at in terms of, looking for a better job. I mean, I think they'll build a statue of him in Columbia at this rate. So that's another one. Then you're left with Jeff Brom at Louisville, who to me, hey, listen, that's one of those things, man. Like it's kind of like the Dan Mullen argument. Hey, I get Dan Mullen really struggled from a talent acquisition standpoint. He can coach. He can coach ball. So if you have that other side, set up with an Austin Thomas and the way that they're structured and you feel aligned there, okay, I can get on board with that. Brent Key, I love. The other thing I love about Brent Key, I love culturally. I love the way they play. I love the way they run the football. The Haynes King thing kind of makes me nervous a little bit, just in
Me
terms
too.
of a passer, right? They're so effective.
Me
They
too.
win, whatever. But you just kind of wonder, all right, like offensively, can we adjust in this conference and what does that look like? Clark Lee, love him. I think he'd be unbelievable. Not leaving. We're going to get right back to the video, but before we do, help us grow the show by liking and subscribing. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it helps us a ton. Let's get back to it. My opinion.
Me too.
The
Great.
name that we did not talk about that I think checks all your boxes, if we can get past all the Louisiana stuff, is Sumrall. Listen, Jon Sumrall was my neighbor back in New Orleans in his first stint with Tulane.
Okay.
This dude is a dude, not because he was my neighbor, but because I've gotten to know him and I like the way that he's wired. I don't think he backs down from a challenge. I think he's got some stuff in his neck. I think he's always looking to really kind of find that next challenge. He didn't take the North Carolina job last year when it was offered to him. I love the job that he's done with Tulane. Willie Fritz deserves all the credit for the foundation. But if you're looking for a foam at your mouth competitor and a guy with a chip on his shoulder that
Mhm.
believes he should be representing the flagship school in Louisiana, Jon Sumrall would tell you that to his face that he is the best person for that job. And
Oh,
that type of stuff is hard to pass up. Now, here's the thing. For Scott Woodward, if he were to remain, it's the best of both worlds situations because you have a first-time Power 4 head coach that is going to have to lean on an experienced athletic director to say, hey, I need you. Who's the best DC out there? Okay? Should we keep Corey Raymond? Should we entertain keeping Blake? What does continuity look like with another year in the system, right? Can we continue to get the personnel that we need? There are obvious pluses there, and I will say this. The big brother, little brother syndrome that exists in Louisiana is so stupid. We
it
never hire
is.
a coach from Tulane. We never hire a coach from Louisiana Lafayette. Why do you think you are where you are? And I'm not saying that Billy Napier was ever the answer, but like you have to have an open mind to this.
Mhm.
And I will give credit where credit is due. At least from what I have seen, the temperature on receiving a guy like Jon Sumrall is so much more open than I ever thought it would be.
Oh, it is. Listen, hold on. Just so we're understanding, I hope I've articulated this well. I would take Jon Sumrall.
Right.
You okay? Listen. I've been in a place that before I got into podcasting media where I worked in those same buildings as people that I think that are going to make this decision. That's what my career was. I just don't politically think it happens. I am a man and I have been wrong on a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to continue to be wrong and I can be wrong. I really worried that they won't even truly entertain it only because of the political stuff that's behind this. They might tell me to go kick rocks in my opinions and I'm an idiot. I hope they tell me that I'm an idiot. I do think he checks all those boxes. I think you're 1,000% correct here on that. He would kill it here. Now, does he want to take that Auburn job? If Auburn opens up, would that be as an Alabama guy? Would he take that over LSU? I don't know, but I do think he'd kill it at LSU. I worry about the political side of these things getting involved and why it wouldn't happen.
He would get that Auburn job, in my opinion.
I agree. They want him. Have you seen? I mean, if you look at Twitter, I mean, they're basically calling for this now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like he would definitely get it. And being a North Alabama guy, I think that's what he is. I know he's from Alabama, but I think he's from North Alabama. I mean, it would make sense there in reference to that. I think he would kill it at LSU. But Coop, I'm gonna have look. I have been proven wrong. I will continue. I gotta see them politically LSU wise get over that hump because I don't think the governor will do that.
All right, let's end it here.
Okay.
Where does this end? What's your prediction?
I think they're gonna give it a shot at Lane Kiffin, Eli Drinkwitz, or I think they go goalish. That's where I think that they go. I think that there's a very strong chance that 2 of those 3 tell you no.
I think Kiffin, in my opinion, depending on how the next couple weeks shake out, because that's going to dictate his whole situation there. If he does leave for a job, I know he has a I don't want to say an infatuation. I know he thinks of LSU highly.
You know what he thinks about Louisiana people highly. Look at his staff.
And the other part is, but here's where I look at Lane Kiffin. The last thing I'll say on this. I think he looks at the Georgia game this year, and he looks at the fourth quarter, and he looks up at giving up 17 points. And if you were to look at those two teams and say, how were they different? The biggest difference is the depth that Georgia
Yes.
has at every level of their defense, especially in the trenches. And if you play Ole Miss, what's the biggest thing that continues to come up? It came up this past weekend against
Trenches.
Oklahoma.
Right.
It's the trench depth. The front line is actually good. You got Will Eccles, you got Xavier Harris, Monmielen, Suntarine Perkins. But if those guys get north of 50 snaps, things get a little crazy, right?
Yep.
So he's been threading the needle year in and year out. This is very difficult. I think he knows this. I think us on the outside, most of us are numb to it. He's been threading the needle in terms of the job that their scouting department has done at Ole Miss. They've been one of the best in the country in terms of the volume of transfers that they are taking and hitting on. It's insane. And it's really not sustainable. So if you look at Florida and LSU, the access to bigger bodies, both in Louisiana and in the state of Florida, solves that problem both in the short term and the long term. It gives you a little bit of relief. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about the money. The money is going to be a big part of that. But from a football personnel standpoint, I can see a world where he says, hey, it just makes more sense year after year to be able to compete at the level that everybody expects us now to compete at Ole Miss if I had access to the bigger bodies that I know I can get out of high school. And, they've done a good job. It's the depth thing. And guess what? LSU had done a great job on the defensive line. Florida has done a nice job on the defensive line, right? But the access to those big bodies, I think that's important. So my guess here is that they're going to take the monster swing at Kiffin, and I have no idea what he's going to do. It wouldn't shock me if he stayed. It wouldn't shock me if he went to Florida. It wouldn't shock me if it ended up at LSU. And quite honestly, if I had to pick between the three right now, it'd probably be Ole Miss or LSU.
I agree with that. And look, here's another truth that I know that his staff, and I'm sure you've heard these rumblings, they are tired of not being remotely close to getting guys like Tristan Keys. I mean that is the conversations I've had with people around there, and I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know if that problem happens at LSU, and I think that that's where they've gotten aggravated, from what I understand. So you could do it at Florida and LSU, but you're right on one thing that you hit that nobody wants to talk about. What if he goes to an SEC championship game? God forbid. What if he goes to the playoff? And what happens if he wins the first round and you're mid-December and you don't have a head coach?
Yeah, I
And
mean, it's literally the worst situation you could possibly be in
yeah,
if
and
you're anybody involved in that LSU staff.
no
You know?
doubt. Florida too, to an extent.
So, yeah, the Kiffin thing will be certainly interesting. And here's the thing. I actually think this ends up. I think it's either Kiffin or Sumrall, in my opinion. I'm not saying that they don't entertain other options. I think as this process goes on, the guy 65, 70 miles down the road is going to start looking like a sexier and sexier option.
Very well could, and I would be all for it. Please don't get what I've been saying twisted. I would love him to be the next head coach here. Again, fearful.
No, I hear you. And I keep saying the last thing. I hope we see like a responsible contract and incentivize your coach to go out there, perform for 4 years and get the next one, just like A&M's done with Mike Elko. I don't know if that was their intention, but they got a guy on a $7.5–8 million deal. Hey, they're 8-0 for the first time in how many years, right?
And they might win the SEC.
Yeah.
They might win this whole thing.
It's going to be fascinating. Blake Ruffino from AOYS Sports, man. I appreciate you having on. You're only guest number 2 on Coop's Corner.
Oh,
And
okay.
you guys listening to Coop's Corner, make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Coops Petagna. You can also follow me at Cooper Petagna. Blake Ruffino, you can find him on X at Blake J. Ruffino and at AYS Sports. Best in the business breaking down LSU football. Blake
Thank you.
Ruffino, I appreciate it. Guys, we'll see you next time.